Finally, dude. Holy shit. I couldn't figure out 30 things, dude. I don't know. It wouldn't go live. The Facebook account wouldn't connect.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
I mean, it was like one thing after another, dude. There was a reason for, apparently my Facebook account got hacked yesterday. Like, that's why it wouldn't connect through StreamYard.
You're a popular guy.
Oh, my goodness, dude.
Let me make sure the audio's coming out outside the RV. I'm going to check it real quick.
Okay. So Chris is going to check that out. I think we've started to get everything figured out. Up a little bit outside. All right. So for those of you who are listening on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, we should be good there. The speakers or the audio is coming directly through our laptop, which is in front of us, and now we're sitting here live.
Yes, sir. Is that CJ Frazier I see outside the RV? Hold on a second.
All right. So
God damn it,
CJ Frazier just pulled up on the RV wearing a Wing Helmet A2 hat. Chris is just out there, hobnobbing with the locals. So, this is exactly why we decided to do the RV scenario over here. And, so far so good. People are starting to pick up a little bit. Me and Chris were just getting ready to go live, and we were kind of looking around, and there's people starting to show up. We're like, dude, we still have like 4 hours until kickoff. We've been out here since a little bit before noon. It's been a long day already, and obviously we've got a lot of day left. But we're super excited. It's starting to take off right now, and so. Yeah, if anybody is out there watching or is planning on stopping by, we're going to be here for another couple hours, and now we're going to do the live stream and pregame and just kind of talk about this thing coming up a little bit as Chris is out there talking to CJ Frazier. If you're a fan of what we do on the page, then you know about CJ because he's at every single thing we go to. He's always commenting. He's always got stuff to say.
He's always around. He's always around. We'll get him on the RV here shortly.
There he is. So, yeah, so that's really exciting, and we're just trying to. Again, we've been talking about this the same way every week. We're only on week 2. Things are going to continually change. We're going to continue to add things. We're going to figure out what works, what doesn't. Today we saw a couple little snags, but we're good, man. We're good now. We're ready to talk about this game and talk about a couple other things too. Chris, we've been here. I said just a minute ago while you were out there, we've been out here since before noon. So we got the TV going. We're currently watching Washington State, Wisconsin. Looks like Washington State's trying to punch
and listen, if you listen to Friday's show, you know how I feel about Wisconsin. It's all I can do to stay awake right now.
Yeah.
I can do.
We watched the Alabama game. Chris was on that. He did not think that Alabama would cover or win by 21 points, and it wasn't even close to that.
You cannot miss Kimmy field goals when you're playing Alabama. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, 20-19 was the final. Alabama kicks a field goal with about 10 seconds to go, and they're undefeated still. Now Texas is, kicking themselves for not making a 20-yard field goal earlier in the game. Washington State punches it in against Wisconsin. Cougars take the lead. Anyway, but it was fun to watch that. We're sitting on the RV here. We had a couple people drop in, and they came right on the RV. Your kids were out here for a little bit.
The kids were out here. We've got Wolverine State Brewing Company beer out here. If you're outside of the RV and you see 2 coolers, help yourself to the beer that's out there. Those guys come through every single weekend for us, and we're going to be partnering with them moving forward. So it's not just going to be drink, but I think we're going to have some food out here in the very near future. So I'm excited about that sponsorship.
Yeah, food. Potential events on location.
Old pork sliders
at Wolverine State Brewing Company. Nate knows the Hendersons here where we're located at, and so there's some things in the works there. We're super excited to be partnered with Wolverine State Brewing Company, and we will continue to plug them. Go there, drink their beer, eat their food, tell other people to go there and drink their beer.
I will definitely continue to drink their beer. That has not been a problem so far today. I can tell you that.
No doubt about it. All right, so let's get into the true issue at hand, and that is that Michigan is playing Hawaii today. Chris, Hawaii's bad.
Hawaii is bad.
Bad at football.
They're pretty bad at football. Let me ask you a question.
Good at surfing? Good at hosting people for vacation?
Sure, absolutely.
Bad at
great
football.
people, bad at football. Let me ask you, do you think there's any question that this game is relatively close this season? Everybody, all the predictions, the spread's 51.5? I think it went up to 52. Do you think there's any chance this game is close tonight? Does Hawaii make a game out of it at all, or is it just all J.J. McCarthy all night?
It's going to be an absolute bloodbath, dude. I can't I can't get the image out of my head that Vanderbilt won 63-10.
Yeah,
in Hawaii.
On the road, yeah. That's crazy.
I mean, so now Hawaii has to travel all the way to Ann Arbor, play. I think Michigan might beat Vanderbilt 63-10.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. I mean,
now,
look, we saw it with Texas, Alabama. We know any given Saturday, anything can happen. I just don't think this
on the road, though.
On the road,
though. Not in Ann Arbor, not in the big house, not in JJ
not tonight,
McCarthy's.
Not on JJ McCarthy's coming out party. Come on.
I mean, if you feel like it, go ahead and call it JJ McCarthy Day, because that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. I think I keep saying Alabama. I think Hawaii is going to struggle to do everything in this game. I was looking at the box scores. I'm going to bring up a couple numbers to you, Chris, and just you do what you want with this, okay? Again, Vanderbilt won the game against Hawaii in week 0, 63-10. Vanderbilt ran for 404 yards in that game. Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's starting quarterback ran for 163 of those yards in that game.
See, the thing is, though, I don't know what type of offense does Vandy have. Is it a is it an RPO? Is it a read option? Is it
It's your standard college offense. Your RPO, some zone read stuff, some spread around.
If the quarterback from Vandy got $160,
that's what
on Hawaii. JJ might have 200 before halftime.
I really think, and I mean, we've talked about this all along. Colorado State was supposed to be Cade McNamara's shot. It was supposed to be his shot to go out and show, this is my job. I had it all of last year. I'm going to have it all of this year. This is where I need to show it at.
Yeah.
He didn't. I mean, I think it's fair to say at this point now that he didn't do that. And then JJ played 11 snaps and had, the longest run of the game, didn't throw an incomplete pass. And now we're going to see him for, I was going to ask you that actually. How many snaps do you think JJ McCarthy gets tonight?
What was the snap count on McNamara?
Cade McNamara played 43 snaps last week, and JJ McCarthy played 11.
I think you're going to get that. I think you're going to get that and then some. I think you're going to get that.
There's no sound outside.
Just well.
We lost sound outside the RV.
We lost sound outside? I don't know why that would be. Well, we're still broadcasting live in here, so that's okay.
We'll keep broadcasting live in here. Yeah, McNamara with 40 what snaps?
43 snaps for McNamara.
See, I feel like JJ's got to have more.
You know why the power went out? We don't have the thing plugged into power out there. We only have it on battery.
Oh, no, we'll do that.
So we need to get a cord out there. We can do that.
Or solar. But look, JJ came in the second half of the game because I think partially because Cade McNamara just wasn't very efficient. And so I think the move to go to to go to McCarthy would have happened earlier than it normally would have happened. Man, I don't know, 50 snaps for McCarthy. I think the guy's just going to ball out. I think he's been waiting for this for a long time. We talked about on the show last week, 1,218 days.
A lot of days.
Since J.J. McCarthy officially committed to the University of Michigan. He's going to get his first start tonight, and I think based on the defense that he's facing, I don't think there's going to be a question as to who the starting quarterback is.
I'm really bummed out that the speaker is not working outside right now because there are Hawaii fans outside of the RV.
We got Hawaii fans outside.
Do you know where the power cord is for the speaker?
I don't.
Well,
listen, if you're out there, we're just a couple of guys who don't know what the hell we're doing. We're gonna need some help.
You know what? This is the perfect time for a plug. Our guy Rich.
Let's plug Rich.
Our guy Rich over at Media Escapes is our official audio technician, and he couldn't make it today. I think he's out of town actually.
I think he's
in Hawaii.
I think he might be golfing on the night,
which is kind of crazy to think about. I think he's in Hawaii playing golf. But he wasn't able to make it today.
Damn you, Rich.
If we had an issue, he would be on it. He would be fixing it immediately, and unfortunately, he's not here. So, yeah, what happened was a simple mishap. Forgot to plug in the speaker outside to power, so it was running all day for the last 4.5 hours off battery, and now it shut off.
We've been bumping Little Baby. We've been bumping Money Bag. That's going to take a lot of power.
We had a little bit of everything going on. We even did a little Journey. And
we had Journey for Brandon's dad.
Yeah, and he was happy about that. He's not so happy now.
Not so happy about the Jay-Z and Lil Baby and the Money Bag. Yeah.
All right, so
we'll bring him along.
So the 400, I'm going to throw it to you again right here, Chris, because last week we talked about this. Michigan's run game was just sort of average last week against Colorado State. Blake Corum, I think, had 73 or 74 yards. Donovan Edwards had 63 or 64, 13 and 12 carries respectively. They both scored a touchdown. Alex Orji also scored, and so there was a fourth rushing touchdown. Who was the other one? can't remember. Oh, JJ had the 20-yarder. So there were four rushing. There were 4 rushing touchdowns. Not a huge day on the ground. Vanderbilt runs for 400 against Hawaii. What can Michigan get today? What's a realistic expectation for Michigan's rushing yards?
It really depends on what the offense looks like, and I think that's what I'm most excited to see tonight. Is I want to see what does this offense look like with J.J. McCarthy at the helm. Does it look similar to when Cade McNamara was behind center? Are they handing it off 40 times? Is it more driven through the running backs, or do they let J.J. McCarthy go out and showcase his talents where he can get outside the pocket, he can make things happen? I don't know, man. I think they're going to let JJ loose. I don't think it's going to be a situation. We talked about this on the last game where there's a part of you, I guess, that thinks you don't think they're going to let him loose tonight. You don't think he's going to sling it all over the field. Is that right?
I don't know, man. I mean, I guess I would ask for a definition.
Well, I had my over-under at 19.5, and you took the under. On completions.
Well, okay, on completions. Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, I think he throws it, 18 to 23 times, somewhere in that.
Wow.
I mean, Cade threw it 18 last week.
Yeah, but JJ's not Cade.
I know, but I'm just saying, if they're going to give JJ the start, and they're going to let him play, and this is now his chance to audition and prove that he's the guy, I don't think he's going to throw it any less than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it makes perfect sense to let him throw it 18 to 20 to 22 times, even if it is kind of a blowout.
Let's go back to what we heard before, which was the plan initially last week. And again, you can take this for whatever it's worth, but from what we heard, the plan last week was to let Cade McNamara basically throw the ball around the field. And the problem was it just wasn't working out. And so the game plan had to change a little bit. If they're going into, tonight with the same mindset that they're going to let J.J. McCarthy throw the ball around the field, I don't think you're going to run into the same problem that you ran into with Cade McNamara. And I told you this before. The offense with Cade behind center looks like it's running in mud. It looks like it's got a ton of potential. It's trying to get somewhere. But then J.J. McCarthy comes in, and it's just like water. Everything flows forward. Everybody's moving forward. And I think you're just going to see more of that tonight. So as much as I hate to say it, as much as I appreciate what he did last year, I think that this is going to be, I think this is going to be the official coming out party of J.J. McCarthy. It's his job moving forward. I can't imagine him having a bad game.
I see somebody. I'm trying to read, guys. I'm leaning way forward. I see Leo at the YouTube page saying, "I really want to see the Michigan wide receivers get into the fight today."
Yes,
dude. We talked about it. Michigan's leading receiver
Anthony,
2 catches. There were 3 guys. 3 guys that had 2 catches last week.
Yeah.
And we all want to see them open that up a little bit more, use those weapons on the perimeter, all those guys with all that speed. Chris, I wanted to point something out. I think you were outside, maybe getting some stuff ready, kind of running around a little bit today. And during the pregame I think it was on ESPN or Fox, one of the two, I can't remember. They were talking to Sam Pittman, the head coach at Arkansas.
Yeah.
Right? Arkansas is off to a pretty good start this year.
Yes.
They're kind of a dark horse pick to compete in the SEC.
Did Desmond Howard put him in the playoff?
He did not. I don't think it was Arkansas. But a lot of people like a lot of things about what they're doing. They've got a good quarterback, and Sam Pittman is kind of this lovable, Arkansas guy kind of coach. And they were interviewing him during pregame while his team was warming up. He had the mic on his, little earbuds in and the mic down on the game. He said this, and I just wished, I looked at my dad and I was like, I would love to hear Jim Harbaugh say those exact words. This is what Sam Pittman said, because they asked him about one of his specific wide receivers. I can't remember who it was. I don't know that team very well. But Sam Pittman said, I love my wide receiver group. I didn't use that group enough last week. We have more talent in that group than we showed in week 1 that we are going to show it this week. I just want –
there it is.
I wonder if Jim Harbaugh thinks that way. Does he think, man, we do have some really, really good players out there. We got to get them out.
I hope tonight he's thinking that way. And we talked about it on the last show. Michigan, if they wanted to go out tonight and they wanted to run the ball 65, 70 times, they could absolutely do that and win. But when you got a guy like Andrew Anthony, when you got a guy like Ronnie Bell, Darius Clemens, A.J. Henry, when you got a Roman Wilson, when you got these guys, you got to get them the ball early. You got to get them into a rhythm, just like your quarterback needs to be in a rhythm, just like your running backs need to be in a rhythm. And I'm sorry, I know that Michigan beat the shit out of Colorado State. I get that. But to have your leading receiver have 2 receptions, and for the most part, most of your guys just have a single reception, I would like to see tonight J.J. McCarthy go out, whether it's Andrew, whether it's Ronnie Bell. I'd like to see him find a target and get 5 receptions to one of your wide receivers. That, to me, 5 receptions for a wide receiver is not asking a lot.
It's funny that you say that because they kind of championed this whole like 15 different people caught a pass in week 1. So 3 guys had 2 catches.
Yeah.
That means 12 guys had a catch,
which is great against Colorado State.
That's not even great though.
Well, I mean, it's a cool thing to promote on social media.
That a lot of people got to catch.
That a lot of people got to touch the ball. But that's not a formula that's going to win a football game in Columbus.
Well, we talked about this before. Not to make it sound like there's some riff or the guys are unhappy, but like, again, they're championing this 15 different guys caught a pass. You think Andrell's pumped about 1 catch for 5 yards? I mean, he's not. These guys want to catch the ball and run and make plays and do what they do, and they just haven't really had an opportunity to do that. So we keep coming back to, like, what's it going to look like? What's it going to look like with JJ, and how are they going to spread the ball around, and how many times is he going to throw it, and what is he going to do with that extremely live arm?
I think that's the biggest question tonight. I mean, obviously everybody wants to see how JJ plays individually, but for me, I'm extremely curious, what does the offense look like? And we've talked about this a lot, whether – does the offense look the way it looks because they're playing to Cade McNamara's strengths? And if you plug in JJ and you still turn around and hand the ball off that much, like what is going to be the big difference there? And so my gut is telling me that the offense is going to look a little bit different. And once you see JJ get out of the pocket and hit his receivers, I think the offensive coordinators, Matt Weiss, Sharon Moore, are going to be more apt to try to do some things with a guy like JJ that you just simply can't do with Cade behind center.
We talked about this before. It's like, it's interesting because you've got one offensive coordinator, Matt Weiss, is the quarterback's coach.
Yes.
And the other offensive coordinator, Sharon Moore, is the O-line coach, which, like, that doesn't mean he only wants to run the ball, but, like, linemen want to run the ball. And so you have to imagine that, and Sharon Moore is a former offensive lineman himself. Those dudes, they want to run the ball. They don't want to sit back and do the pretty pass pro stuff and try to do all that and have a chance to get beat one-on-one. They want to pound the ball, lean on people, impose their will, be 350 pounds. That's what they want to do. So I find that interesting, and I wonder what that dynamic ends up looking like with a quarterback like J.J. McCarthy, who can make some plays with his feet, with his arm, outside the pocket, different angles, all the different stuff that he can do. We haven't even talked about this whole read stuff that should make the running game better across the board. We saw it with C.J. Stokes last week. His first carry ever as a freshman goes for whatever it was, 13 or 16 yards because JJ sucked 2 defenders towards him like immediately, and there goes Stokes up the middle. So I am really interested to see all of that, and it's woven together. But you're right. How are they gonna call it? How are they gonna call the game, and then once they do call it, how does JJ execute it, and what does it all look like?
I'm just gonna say this, man, and I know a couple of people have said it on social media when we had posted some stuff, but I can't remember a time where Michigan had this many weapons at the wide receiver position. And I'll go back to, they don't got to use them very much these first 4 weeks. But just because you don't have to use them doesn't mean you shouldn't use them. And I think when Michigan gets into Big Ten play, when they get into November, you're going to need chemistry between J.J. McCarthy and Andrell Anthony and Ronnie Bell, and you're going to need those targets. So instead of waiting until you get into those environments, my philosophy has always been use it week 2. Use it because the running game, I think, that's a known commodity. You know what you're going to get out of Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum in that offensive line. That's not really going to change a lot from week 1 to week 2 to week 3. But in terms of the wide receivers, man, I played that position. Granted, it was in high school, so it was a long, long time ago. But rhythm counts. Being able to get out and get your hands on the ball and just feel what that's like. Dude, there's no way tonight Michigan's leading receiver can have 2 receptions. It just cannot happen.
What's that mark then for you? What mark would you be like, I'm
Michigan's
cool with
leading
that.
receiver?
I'm cool with that.
Give me 6 receptions.
Okay.
For somebody. Roman Wilson. Against Hawaii.
300% increase over the test. I know.
But in the grand scheme of things, is 6 receptions a lot to ask for. I mean, that's pretty, it's pretty average.
Yeah, Roman Wilson, the Hawaii native, against a bunch of dudes that he knows for sure.
If he ain't getting the ball left and right, we already said he's not going to be able to return kicks. We know that.
I did want to say this too. How dope is it that as we're sitting here getting ready to go live, one Mr. John Teskey and one Mr. Eli Brooks.
We got John Teskey and Eli Brooks.
Just hanging out behind us, having a little fondue, just getting ready for the night. I mean,
How
Yeah, pretty awesome. I really wish this was broadcasting outside. That's a big bummer that we forgot.
Well, listen, hey, when we get to Big Ten play, we'll get it there.
And listen,
we need a bye week. We need a bye week.
Week 2, we're ironing some things out. That's on your boys. We made a mistake. We forgot to plug in the speaker. I'm glad everybody on the live stream can hear us. And me and Chris sound really good to each other in the microphone.
Great.
But nobody else.
I wish you guys could hear what I sound like through this because it's like some Barry Manilow.
Nobody else is hearing that. The only thing I was thinking, do you want to bring CJ on to talk to you for a minute about the winged helmet and everything and let me try to run around and find that core? I would do that right now if you think you can fill up 3 or 4
CJ,
minutes.
You up for hopping on the live show?
I don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't want to, listen, totally stay at school.
CJ, get over here right now.
Well, there you go.
Get up. CJ, move the mic. Look, bringing a fan on the podcast. It's the first time it's happened.
Wasn't the plan thing, but I want to get the speaker working while we got all the
CJ Frazier. CJ Frazier has been, for those of you who don't know CJ Frazier, he has been a long and loyal fan on the Facebook page. I don't know if you can hear me in there. Check your sound.
Yeah,
I got the mic right there.
Do we have any idea where that cord is?
We do not have any idea. Well, look up here. So CJ, I want to ask you as a fan. You drove in from out of state. Tell people how far you came for this game.
We flew in.
Okay,
We came from Des Moines, Iowa. Flew out at 10:30 this morning. Got here just after 1. I got the rental car, got to the Airbnb, hung out for a bit.
Now you guys see the hat, right? The A2 hat. CJ's rocking it. CJ also got a game-worn helmet. What was that? Was that earlier last year? That was sometime during last year, right?
Last fall.
Last fall.
October.
But this has been kind of what we've been doing throughout the day. People have been stopping, and there's a lot of you guys out there that, particularly on the Facebook page, that I've had the opportunity to interact with, but have never had the chance to meet you in person. I'm sitting here with CJ. It's the first time we've met in person. I feel like I've known this guy for years. I feel like we're old homeboys.
It's like it's surreal because you interact every week, and now 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy shit.
And there you go. You got John Teskey.
Yeah.
John Teskey hanging outside the motorhome, all 7 feet of him, definitely looking like a center. But yeah, man, it's been cool. I think this is kind of what the RV was for, was to be able to not just do the podcast, but be able to bring fans on and sort of like share in the experience. And so I'm super excited about that. I know Brandon's still working on the cord here. How we looking, Brandon?
He's struggling.
Yeah, hey, listen, so I don't know if I should say this, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. If you weren't here earlier at the RV, your boy Brandon Brown was working pretty hard. He was working so hard, in fact, that the shirt came off.
Well, hey.
We had topless Brandon Brown in the RV, and I had to deal with that, CJ.
Now I'm going to cry because I missed it.
Well, I was going to say, how would you feel about a topless Brandon Brown? If you were stopped,
I want to feel real good about
RV, if I were to open the door, you came in, you saw Brandon Brown topless.
My only issue would be I have my 8-year-old daughter. So that might be a problem. But otherwise, might have to put on my sunglasses, though. He's a little light.
There's no doubt about it.
Let's get to some of your takes on Michigan football, because obviously the big controversy, the big story is Cade McNamara, J.J. McCarthy. Where do you – I mean, you're a fan. You watch every single game. Where do you stand on it?
JJ's the guy. Cade managed the ship to get to the title last year, but he's not the future, and JJ's just so dynamic. It's hard to keep him on the bench.
Do you feel like Cade's getting a raw deal from the Michigan fan base and from the coaching staff? Because there's a lot of people out there that think, look, he went out and had one of the most successful seasons in Michigan football history, beat Ohio State, won a Big Ten championship, got to the college football playoff. There are some people out there that feel as though, moving to JJ is essentially turning your back on Cade. What are your thoughts on that?
It's big boy football. You're an adult. It's life. It happens. It's going to happen in the real. Once it gets out in the real world, whether he makes the NFL, or he's working in somebody's office, that's life. You can deal with it.
You see, and that's what it is. And I think Brandon and I have talked a lot about this. Is that the narrative about turning your back on Cade McNamara? I don't believe that that's the case. I think, as CJ said, this is big boy football. And unfortunately, you're not always going to be the best guy in your position. And I tell Brandon this all the time. I think I'm a pretty good basketball player. CJ, basketball court, I'm kind of like Robert Horry. I can't get in the lane, but I can post up 3-pointers and I can hit them all day long. I still know there's people out there better than me. That's just the way it is. And so I don't take it as an insult. I just think, look, Cade is really good at football. He's a Division I quarterback. But unfortunately for Cade McNamara, you got J.J. McCarthy behind you. And Michigan does not recruit many 5-star quarterbacks. I said this before you got on the show. It's been 1,218 days today. since J.J. McCarthy officially committed to the University of Michigan. He's had plenty of time to get his sea legs speed. I just think J.J.'s going to twirl.
You know, the biggest thing is Cade had his shot, and his attitude at the presser last week after the game.
Let me ask you about that. Because he's a captain, you could see he was dejected. What did you think as a fan?
Horrible. He looked like he had just lost the game. That seemed like the attitude you have after that loss to Georgia. And as a leader, as the captain, as the quarterback, you should not have that attitude.
Yeah, and
we should almost welcome competition.
Brandon and I talked about that a lot, man. You're the captain on the football team. Even when things aren't going the way you want them to go, even if there's a guy vying for your spot, man, you can't show up to a press conference and look dejected after a big win like that. And I think that said a lot.
And it was heat of the moment. So, I mean, maybe if he'd have 10, 15, half an hour longer, maybe he would have addressed it differently. But he didn't. So that's what we have.
He didn't. That's what we got. That's what we got.
Speaker's good, man.
How are we? Are we good?
We're good. I don't want to kick CJ out too quick, but
thank you so much. CJ Frazier, the first guest on our podcast.
How about that, man? How about that?
Hey, CJ just sat in like he was an OG.
Like a pro, man.
He just knew what he was doing. He just knew.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for filling in.
Hey, you're welcome.
Get over here so I don't step on anything.
So we're broadcasting outside.
Brandon and I got to share ear split.
We are. Yeah, we are broadcasting outside now. The speaker is plugged in, functional. We got power. We're good to go. So I caught a little bit of what you guys were saying.
Good conversation with CJ, though. Really good conversation. I mean, we talked about that press conference. We talked a little bit about, does he feel like it's fair? Or that narrative out there, we talked about it on our show. Is it unfair to Cade McNamara to be going through this process? I just, like CJ said, man, this is big boy football. You're playing Division I Power 5 football. And unfortunately, if the guy behind you is a little bit better, that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, it is. It is. We've talked about it a lot. It's not personal. It was a narrative. It was a narrative that I talked about last week that was really bothering me, where a lot of people would throw out this I just can't believe Jim Harbaugh would turn his back on Cade. That's not what it is.
Can I say? I brought this up. You can look at it that way. You can look at it as Jim Harbaugh turning his back on Cade McNamara, or you can look at it as Jim Harbaugh doing everything he can to give Cade McNamara opportunities to keep his job. He didn't have to start Cade McNamara week 1. In fact, if everything is the way that you and I think it is, it was pretty clear in fall camp who the starting quarterback should be. But at the end of the day, this is not turning your back on Cade McNamara. You gave him a solid opportunity week 1 to state his case, and unfortunately, it just wasn't a good outing. So you got to take the emotional stuff out of it, man. It's not about emotion. It's about who's the best guy. And I think if you were at the game last week and you watched it, even though JJ had 11 snaps, to me, it was clear who the best quarterback was.
I'm not sure what this says about me, but Louis Miller is requesting CJ to come back and me to go back on the screen. So, yeah, thanks for that, Louis. Appreciate that.
Louis throwing you out.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was great. I really appreciate CJ stepping in there and
telling you, CJ
chatting up for a minute while I was getting that speaker.
Who knows? Look, you stop by the Winged Helmet SIRV, you might actually end up on the show.
You might.
You might end up on the show.
You just might. I mean, we had been talking to CJ about him showing up. Coming from out of state, man. That's a little long trip for this Hawaii game. And obviously, I think we're going to maybe link up again in Iowa City. That's the plan.
Yes, sir.
So very, very cool. Glad CJ could do that. I mean, we're starting to get a little bit of a little group out here out front. I like that. Hope everybody's enjoying themselves because we're getting – are we going to get wet out here, Chris? It looks like some rain clouds. You're the one that's going to be out on the field tonight.
Listen, hey, look at – you've seen me sweat. You know how hot I get. If Mother Nature opens up the rain clouds down there, I'm not going to be pissed off. I'll tell you this. I'm going to be wet either way.
Yeah, true.
I'm going to be wet either way down there. I'm either going to be sweating my ass off or I'm going to be covered in rain. I'd rather be covered in rain.
Shout out to Doug Henderson, the homeowner here, giving me a fat guy rag. I forgot mine today. I mean, dude, if you need something, I'm telling you what. If you need something, we've got Rich at Mediascapes. We've got Nate over at Wolverine State Brewing Company. We've got Dougie.
We got Doug.
We got Dougie Fresh right back here.
Doug with the Endotron in the garage.
And we said it just a minute ago. John Teskey was rolling through. Eli Brooks. There's been a couple other former players and alumni been stopping by. It's a great little spot over here.
It's a nice spot.
I know everybody following along with us has said that they would love to stop out. Please do.
Please do.
Please do. Chris gave away a couple more hats today. Little Sparky got himself a set of gloves out there earlier.
Gave away some Nike gloves, some hats. I mean, look, anytime we got swag, I'm trying to give it out to you guys for coming through because we really appreciate it, man. The support just means everything.
Chris is no I can't read what that says. Oh, Chris is no wilting flower. Is that a compliment?
I don't know what that
You're talking about sweating and looking horrible and whatever.
Look, I appreciate that.
I don't know.
Listen,
Sounds nice.
here's the deal. I'm going to take that as a compliment. I'm going to take it as a compliment. I don't know who said it, but I appreciate it.
It sounds like a nice
John Patrick. John Patrick, right?
I don't have my glasses.
Is John Patrick the dude with the aviation license? John Patrick, how have you not hooked us up with a private plane?
Yeah, no kidding, dude. Louis Miller, even though you want to be replaced, I'm going to answer your question. He needs to know when we're going to start selling merch again.
Soon. So my thought is by the time Big Ten play kicks off, the RV will be selling merch, so you can come get it live. But we've also been in discussions with Mediascapes about doing an online store as well. And so those are all things that are happening. They're in the works. I know people, there's some people out there that really want the merchandise, and I really want to be able to give it to you. But it's just got to be in a way that, I want you guys to get the merchandise quickly. I want it to look good. And so there's a lot of, I's to dot, T's to cross to make sure that that's a viable option. But I think we're planning on doing like actual printing of the T-shirts from the RV live. So when we get to Penn State, when we get to Michigan State, we're going to be able to do some custom shirts right on the fly, right from the RV. So again, it's even more reason for you to stop on by.
That's the ultimate goal. But it is tough. I mean, we talked about the equipment that's necessary to do it on the RV is not simply just just throw it in here. And bringing a huge stock of stuff is also not, sometimes not the smartest approach. So we're really trying to figure that out because Chris and I, we come up with ideas all the time. There's stuff that we know we would like to wear. We hope everybody else will as well. It's got to be done right.
Yeah, so we could partner with an online company overseas and we could start cranking them out, but I don't know what they're going to look like. I don't have the opportunity to talk with the people that are producing them directly. And so I would rather work with a local company. I mean, the last pop-up store I did with the Harbaugh shirts and the hats, that was from a company from Ann Arbor. So the whole goal is we want this to all be local based. We want to use local companies. And so we're still trying to work on that. We hooked up with Rich. I think that's going to be a great option for us moving forward. But yeah, the hope is that once we move into Big Ten play, we got the swag out ready for us.
I wanted to see if the drops were going to work now that I got the speaker.
Let's hear it.
Cold Blue, did that play outside? Oh, there you go. All right,
Yes,
I guess
sir.
it's working. I don't know if I have the level up, so let's see.
Hold it out and shoot it to you.
We're good. I think
Now you couldn't hear that. They couldn't hear.
Yeah, the people on the live stream unfortunately could not hear that, but we got a couple chuckles outside. That's all I was really checking. All right, we're not going to stay too much longer, Chris. We're north of 30 minutes now, and we said these pre-games are going to be somewhere in that range. We went for an hour last week, but that's because we skipped our Friday show.
Necessity.
And
Look,
this week,
listen. I'll be honest. I'm trying to put down the mic and drink beer. That's what I'm really trying to do.
There is some.
There is that.
There is some of that.
We got people outside.
Where was the last thing? This goes back to kind of what we've been talking about the whole time, and I think this is where we'll wrap it up and then talk about our predictions a little bit. We'll get on out here. Michigan is hosting 5-star 2024 quarterback Jaden Davis today.
Yes, sir.
That's not by mistake. They didn't bring him on accidentally against Hawaii. Nope. This is JJ's start. They're similar in terms of like athleticism, live arm, kind of moving around the pocket. I would say JJ's looks like such a better runner now than he was coming out of high school. I know for a while, as a recruit, he was labeled as a dual threat guy, and then they kind of took it away. He's like, he's more of a pro style. He'll stay in the pocket more often than I like. He's dual threat all day.
Dude, give him dreadlocks and he's shoelace out there.
he's running 4.5.
Blind dreadlocks?
He's running 4.5.
Can you even do that?
Well,
yeah, you can.
Maybe some opinions, but he 4.4. CJ says no, you can't. He's running 4.5 per Harbaugh. He's running 4.4 for himself. So he's definitely a dual threat. And again, we're expecting a big rushing day. So my question is this: it kind of goes back again. How big of an impact is that? How big of an impact is that when you've got a kid like a Jaden Davis? Michigan's not recruiting a quarterback in 2023. All their eggs are pretty much in the Jaden Davis basket in 2024. They gotta want to showcase that young quarterback who plays similarly to him, right? I mean, it's got to be part of.
I mean, I think this is what it's all about. You have a guy on your roster who pretty much brings it all to the table. And we've talked about not to degrade Cade McNamara, but Cade McNamara is one-dimensional. He is a pocket passer. He can get out of the pocket sometimes, but not nearly as effective as J.J. McCarthy. And when you have a true dual threat on the field, And you saw it last week against Colorado State. I think a guy like Jaden Davis is going to watch somebody like J.J. McCarthy operate in this offense with all of those weapons. And it's going to be very easy to see himself in that position. And by the way, it doesn't hurt that there's going to be about 115,000 fans in the stadium wearing all maize. I think it's going to be an impressive outing all around. I would say Jaden Davis walks away extremely impressed with the University of Michigan.
Do you think it's going to be as hype as it was for Washington? Because that was pretty special.
Yes.
You know why? Same?
Well, I'd say 2 words, but one isn't even a word. J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
The height, I'm telling you, when number 9 takes the field, that opening drive, you're going to hear a sound in the stadium of just pure joy because everybody's been waiting for this for years. His commitment was a really long commitment. He was a highly rated quarterback. And now it's finally his chance to show what he can do. We saw what he had to say in the press conference. Dude's excited to go out and play football.
Well, I do want to say, Chris, we made it coming up here on 40 minutes. You mentioned my shirt a little bit because I had it off because I was sweating earlier, but you didn't talk about just the overall appearance and look of the shirt. We lost sound again outside?
It's just positive.
Brandon
Got a buzz.
is
It's just buzzing.
We might just need to cut. We're almost done. We'll probably just cut our losses on that. We'll get it figured out for next week.
But for those of you out there, Brandon's wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and I'm glad he put it back on. There was a period of time in this RV where Brandon Brown was shirtless.
Yeah, it looked like everything.
Okay?
Long period.
A long period of time where Brandon Brown was shirtless. But as we started to get some groups, some people coming along, Brandon threw on the Hawaiian shirt. It's just, look, man, Michigan versus Hawaii, I respect it.
I mean, this is this is probably the 3rd time I've ever wore this
Can
shirt.
I ask you a question? Did you own that before this game?
I owned
Okay,
it.
see, that's egregious.
Yeah, I owned it.
That's egregious. Brandon, hold on. Brandon Brown owned that shirt before the Michigan-Hawaii game. He didn't buy it for it.
That guy took it on a cruise, maybe. Is that, I mean,
It's not tight.
well, you know, whatever. I don't run from who I am, Chris. I'll show the phone case again, too. It goes with the shirt well, does it not?
There you go. There you go. You are ready for Miami Beach.
Can my daughter have it after you're done with it?
CJ put it in
Hey,
8-year-old girl.
look, Brandon, if you don't want that phone case, give it to CJ's daughter. She's all about this.
This will be gone after this week. This will be gone after this week. All right, I think we're going to put a bow in it right there.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, your prediction again. I know it was pretty lopsided. Mine was even worse, though.
Yours was worse. I still say Michigan's going to beat that ass. You got it. A shutout. I've got Michigan 63, Hawaii 3.
I said 73
Woo!
to 0.
I'll tell you what, if Michigan puts up 73-0 on the night that J.J. McCarthy starts,
That's all she wrote.
game over.
Kate's running out of town.
Yeah, that's going to be a wild night in the big house. So, thank you everybody for listening.
Yes,
we
thank you
apologize
very
for a
much.
few technical difficulties.
We'll
We had
work on it.
We had a weird thing with Facebook wouldn't connect at first, and then our speaker died for those of you who are here live. But anyway, we got through another one. Week 3 will be smoother. Week 4 will be smoother. We're just going to keep bringing it to you the whole way we know how.
That's it. 1% better tomorrow than we were today.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it
We're
is.
just trying to get 1% better.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. We will be back as soon as the game ends for our post-game coverage, and then we'll see if Chris is still. I mean, it's going to be way cooler than it was.
It'll be way
last
cooler.
week.
I won't be a dead body by the end.
I don't think it affected Chris's performance last week, but he was hurt.
I was hurt. It did not affect my performance. Dude, you know how I am. I
Just got to get it done.
I do what I do.
So there you go. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in look, it's 5:12. We'll be back in 7 hours.
We got some time.
7 hours. We'll see you guys again soon. Tune in after the game. Thanks, everyone.
See you.